Right now, as you're watching this, over 14 million SUV and truck engines are under active recall in the United States. Some are seizing at highway speed, some are catching fire while parked in driveways. And most of the owners have no idea. NHTSA sends letters. Letters get lost, cars get sold. Second and third owners never receive the notification, and the engine keeps running with a defect the manufacturer already identified, while the owner drives their family to school every morning without knowing. Stay until the end. Because the biggest recall on this list involves a brand most people consider the most reliable on Earth. Hyundai and Kia. 12 years of fire and still no end in sight. Let's start with the one that's been burning. And I mean that literally, for over a decade. In 2013, a Kia Optima owner in Kentucky watched her car burst into flames in a parking lot with no collision, no accident, and no warning. In 2015, a Hyundai Sonata caught fire in a residential garage in Texas, nearly spreading to the house. By 2018, the pattern was so widespread that the Center for Auto Safety petitioned the federal government to investigate. By 2024, NHTSA had confirmed what millions of owners already suspected. Hyundai and Kia engines were spontaneously catching fire at rates that defied industry norms. The total count as of 2026, over 10 million vehicles were called for engine-related fire risks across the last 12 years. That's not a typo, 10 million, from just two brands. The core problem traces to the Theta 2 engine family, the 2.0-liter and 2.4-liter 4 cylinders, fitted to nearly every midsize and compact vehicle Hyundai and Kia have sold in the last decade. Manufacturing defects in the connecting rod bearings allowed metal debris to circulate through the oil system, starving the engine of lubrication until it seized, sometimes at highway speed without a single warning light. The engine doesn't cough, it doesn't sputter, it doesn't give you time to pull over, it just stops at 70 miles per hour with your children in the back seat. And then the fires started. Oil leaking from damaged engines dripped onto hot exhaust components and ignited. NHTSA issued a consumer alert that still reads like something from a disaster movie. Owners of 3.3 million Hyundai and Kia vehicles were told to park outside and away from all structures because their cars might catch fire while parked and turned off. Think about that for a second. A federal safety agency told 3 million American families not to park their cars in their own garages because the engines might spontaneously combust while everyone sleeps. The Highway Loss Data Institute found that some Hyundai and Kia models were more than twice as likely to have a non-crash fire claim than comparable vehicles from other brands. The government fined the companies $210 million and awarded a whistleblower $24 million, the first whistleblower award in NHTSA history. And the recalls haven't stopped. From 2018 to 2026, every year has brought another wave. More models, more engine variants, more vehicles added to the list. The latest rounds include brand new 2025 to 2026 Tucson and Santa Fe models with improperly tightened connecting rod bolts. Brand new vehicles, still coming off the assembly line with the same category of defect that started this crisis over a decade ago. Here's the detail that should keep every Hyundai and Kia owner awake tonight. PBS reported that the majority of recalled vehicles remain unrepaired. Millions of people are driving SUVs right now with engines the manufacturer has already admitted are defective. And they don't know, because a letter they never received is sitting in a postal database somewhere between "we're aware of the problem" and "you're on your own." 12 years, 10 million vehicles. And the crisis isn't over. It's still expanding. Every year brings another recall wave. Every wave adds another batch of models, and every batch includes vehicles that were supposed to have been fixed by the batch before it. This isn't a recall, this is a chronic condition that Hyundai and Kia have been treating with Band-Aids for over a decade. That's 10 million engines from two brands. And if you think that number is alarming, the next manufacturer recalled 600,000 in a single announcement. And these aren't $25,000 compacts. These are $100,000 Escalades with engines that destroy themselves from the crankshaft up. General Motors, the $100,000 engine that eats itself alive. Imagine this. You walk into a Cadillac dealership. You write a check for $85,000. You drive home in a brand new Escalade, the vehicle your family depends on for every road trip, every holiday, every school morning. 6 months later, You hear a knock from under the hood, then a rattle, then silence. Your engine just seized. And when the dealer opens it up, they find metal shavings circulating through the oil because the crankshaft, the single most critical rotating component in the engine, was manufactured with a defect that existed from the day it rolled off the assembly line. That's not a nightmare scenario designed to scare you. That's the documented reality behind General Motors' recall of 597,630 trucks and SUVs in May 2025. A recall that came only after 28,000 owner complaints, 14,000 reports of sudden power loss, and a federal investigation that forced GM's hand. Think about that number. 28,000 complaints. That means 28,000 people experienced engine failure severe enough to file a formal report with the government. And GM needed all 28,000 of them, plus a federal investigation, before they admitted the problem existed. The 6.2-liter V8 fitted to the 2021 to 2024 Chevrolet Tahoe, Suburban, Silverado 1500, the GMC Yukon, Yukon XL, Sierra 1500, and the Cadillac Escalade carries connecting rod and crankshaft components that were manufactured with tolerances outside specification. The defect causes premature bearing wear, metal contamination of the oil supply, progressive engine damage, and eventually, if the owner doesn't hear the warning signs in time, complete catastrophic failure. In an SUV towing a 7,000-pound trailer at highway speed, catastrophic engine failure isn't an inconvenience, it's a potential tragedy. The engine seizes, power steering goes, power brakes go. A 6,000-pound SUV pulling a 7,000-pound trailer is suddenly a 13,000-pound unguided projectile decelerating on a highway surrounded by families in vehicles that weigh a third as much. That's not a recall statistic. That's a scenario that ends in the kind of phone call nobody ever wants to receive. The fix is straightforward. Dealers inspect and replace the engine free of charge. But the reality is messier. Replacement engines aren't unlimited. Owners are reporting wait times measured in weeks to months. Your $85,000 Escalade sits in a dealer lot while you drive a rental Malibu that costs less than the floor mats in the truck you can't use. And nobody from GM calls to apologize. Nobody explains why 28,000 complaints were required to trigger the recall that a single properly functioning quality control process should have caught before the first engine left the factory. 600,000 engines with crankshafts that self-destruct. And now, here's where this video takes a turn that nobody expected, because the next recall involves a brand that has spent 60 years building the most trusted reputation in the automotive industry. And even they couldn't escape this list. Toyota. The recall that shocked the entire industry. This is the one that hurts, because the badge on the front says Toyota, and Toyota is not supposed to be here. Toyota is the brand that built a global empire on one promise: that their engines don't fail. The Land Cruiser crossed 1 million kilometers in mining operations. The Hilux survived drowning, fire, and a building collapse on top gear. The Camry engine is so reliable that mechanics use it as the baseline against which every other engine is measured. Toyota doesn't end up on recall lists. Toyota is the reason other manufacturers end up on recall lists. Until the V35A-FTS happened. The 2022 to 2025 Toyota Tundra, equipped with the 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6, has been recalled 3 separate times, in 2024, 2025, and 2026. For the same fundamental problem: machining debris left inside the engine during manufacturing that destroys the #1 main bearing from the inside out. The total number of affected vehicles now exceeds 270,000 across 3 expanding campaigns. Toyota has already ripped out and replaced over 70,000 engines. And here's the part that turns a recall into a crisis. Some of the replacement engines are failing the exact same way. Let that sink in. The engines built to fix the problem are developing the same problem. That's not a manufacturing contamination issue anymore. That's a question mark hanging over the entire engine architecture. One owner documented a complete powertrain failure at just 3,125 miles on a 2025 Tundra Hybrid TRD Pro. The dealer opened the engine and found large metal debris in the oil of a truck with fewer miles on it than a test drive. The old naturally aspirated 5.7-liter V8 that the twin-turbo replaced never had this issue. It was known for reaching 300,000 miles in fleet service without anyone opening the hood for anything beyond an oil change. Toyota replaced a proven bulletproof, dead simple V8 with a more complex twin-turbo V6, and got exactly what every skeptic, every forum poster, and every old-school mechanic predicted the day the swap was announced. More power, more efficiency, and more problems. The mechanics who said turbocharging a truck engine is asking for trouble have been vindicated by 270,000 recall notices. That's an expensive way to learn what the guy in the shop already knew. The recall now covers the Tundra, the Lexus LX, and the Lexus GX, three of the most expensive and prestigious vehicles in Toyota's lineup. And here's the sentence that should make every Toyota owner uncomfortable. As of May 2026, Toyota filed with NHTSA stating that the final remedy for the second recall wave is currently under development, with availability anticipated by July or August 2026. Think about what that means. The company whose entire reason for existing is reliability, the company that built a global brand on the promise that you will never have to worry about the engine, is telling owners of $60,000 trucks, "We're still figuring it out," 2 years after they first identified the problem. That's not a recall update, that's a confession. That's Toyota, the brand that built its empire on the promise that this would never happen. And somehow the next chapter is even worse, because this manufacturer isn't dealing with engines that seize. They're dealing with engines that catch fire while the owner sleeps. Stellantis. Your $65,000 Jeep might burn down your house. Picture this, it's 3 a.m., your house is quiet, your kids are asleep, your $65,000 Jeep. Grand Cherokee 4xe is parked in the driveway, plugged into the wall, charging overnight the way the dealer told you to charge it. And without a single warning, no alarm, no notification on your phone, nothing. The hybrid battery system experiences a thermal event. By the time you smell smoke through the bedroom window, the front of the vehicle is engulfed. By the time you call 911, the heat has already cracked the windows and started melting the siding on your garage. This isn't a script written to scare you. This is the pattern that led to repeated recalls of the 2020 to 2025 Jeep Wrangler 4xe and 2022 to 2026 Grand Cherokee 4xe. The plug-in hybrid versions of Jeep's two most iconic models, the hybrid battery and electrical systems, have demonstrated a documented pattern of thermal events that can occur while the vehicle is parked, turned off, and plugged in. Stellantis, the parent company of Jeep, Ram, Dodge, and Chrysler, issued a directive that reads like something from a civil defense manual: park the vehicle outside, away from all structures, until the recall repair is performed. A $65,000 plug-in hybrid that its own manufacturer is telling you not to park near your home, near your family, near anything you care about. And the fire risk is just the headline. Underneath it sits a company whose quality control has collapsed across every brand it touches. The 2026 Ram 1500 scored 5 out of 100 on Consumer Reports' predicted reliability scale, the worst score any pickup truck has ever received in the publication's history. The instrument panel display goes blank while driving, removing the driver's ability to see speed, fuel level, and warning lights at highway speed. The proximity keyless entry system drains the battery overnight, leaving owners stranded with dead trucks in their own driveways. These aren't 3 different companies with 3 different problems. These are 3 symptoms of one company that has lost control of its own product quality. And the Jeep 4xe fire risk is simply the most dangerous symptom of a disease that runs through every badge Stellantis sells. Stellantis can't fix the engines, can't fix the electronics, can't fix the fires, and the next manufacturer on this list didn't have one catastrophic failure. They had 152 separate ones in a single year. You genuinely cannot make this stuff up. Ford, one recall. Every other business day for an entire year, Ford Motor Company logged 152 individual recall campaigns in 2025. Let me say that number again, 152. More than any automaker in the history of the American automotive industry. The previous record was 77, set by GM in 2014. Ford didn't just break the record, Ford lapped it. That's roughly 1 recall every other business day for 12 straight months. Every time the engineering team fixed one problem, 2 more surfaced. The paperwork alone would have required its own department. The engine-specific concerns for SUV owners center on the EcoBoost turbocharged engine family, the forced induction platform that powers the Explorer, Escape, Bronco Sport, and the F-150 architecture underneath the Expedition. Turbocharging was supposed to deliver V8 power from a smaller, more efficient engine. What it also delivered was a complexity tax, turbo seals that wear, intercoolers that leak, and an oiling system that operates under pressures the naturally aspirated engines it replaced never had to manage. Owner forums for EcoBoost-powered Explorers read like support groups, people describing identical symptoms across different model years and different states, realizing independently that the truck they trusted is the truck that's been lying to them through the dashboard. The 10-speed automatic transmission paired with these engines has generated its own separate library of complaints: harsh shifting under load, gear hunting at highway speeds, and a specific recall for valve body machining, errors that caused reverse gear failure or unexpected vehicle movement. A truck that moves when it shouldn't is the kind of defect that ends conversations about brand loyalty permanently. Ford didn't have one dramatic engine catastrophe like Toyota's bearing seizures or Hyundai's fire epidemic. Ford had 152 smaller ones, a death by 1,000 cuts that collectively affected millions of vehicles and established the company as the most recalled manufacturer in American history. The difference is presentation. Toyota gave you one terrifying headline. Ford gave you 152 smaller ones that individually sound manageable and collectively paint a picture of a company that shipped products faster than it could quality check them. What you need to do right now. Here's the uncomfortable math. If you own an SUV or truck made between 2011 and 2026 from any of the 5 manufacturers above, there is a statistically significant chance your vehicle has an open recall you don't know about. NHTSA data shows that roughly 1 in 4 recalled vehicles in the United States never gets the repair performed. That's millions of engines on the road right now with defects the manufacturer has already acknowledged, ticking quietly inside engine blocks while families drive to work, to school, to grandma's house on the highway. Go to nhtsa.gov. Enter your VIN. It takes 30 seconds, that's it. 30 seconds between knowing and not knowing. The alternative is finding out your engine was on the list when it seizes at 70 miles per hour on a Tuesday morning with the kids in the back seat. Hyundai and Kia, 10 million plus engines. Fire risk, seizure, connecting rod failures, spanning 12 years and still expanding. General Motors, 600,000 engines. Crankshaft and connecting rod defects in the 6.2-liter V8 powering Tahoe Yukon, Escalade Silverado, Sierra. Toyota, 270,000 engines, twin-turbo V6 bearing seizures across 3 recall waves, replacement engines also failing, no final fix as of mid-2026. Stellantis, Jeep 4 XE fire risk while parked, Ram 1500 scoring 5 out of 100 reliability, electronic failures across the portfolio. Ford, 152 individual recalls in 2025, EcoBoost turbo issues, transmission failures, the most recalled manufacturer in American history. Over 14 million engines, 5 manufacturers. One of them is almost certainly parked in your driveway, or your neighbor's driveway right now. Check the VIN. Then text this video to your mother, your brother, your neighbor with the Tahoe, your coworker who just bought a Tucson, the cousin whose Wrangler 4xe is parked in a garage attached to a house where children sleep. Because the letter they were supposed to receive might still be sitting in a database somewhere between a post office and a landfill, and the engine doesn't care whether the mail arrived. It fails on its own schedule, not yours. Over 14 million engines, a Hyundai fire epidemic that's lasted 12 years, a GM V8 that needed 28,000 complaints before anyone admitted it was defective, a Toyota twin turbo that the manufacturer still can't fully explain after 3 recall waves, Jeep hybrids catching fire while parked, and Ford setting an all-time record for recalls that nobody wanted to win. The showroom showed you a brochure. We just showed you the NHTSA file. Go check your VIN, then drop your model in the comments. Subscribe. The next video covers the engines that never get recalled, and the contrast will change how you buy your next car forever.